The galaxy had always believed it was untouchable. For thousands of cycles, the Empire ruled the stars without fear. Its fleets filled the void like moving cities of metal and fire. Whole species were born under its shadow and died never knowing freedom. On the blue world of Keros, one alien archivist watched the sky every night. His people believed the Empire was eternal. They believed obedience was safety. They believed survival meant silence. Keros had no great weapons. No legendary fleets. Only history, culture, and the hope that loyalty would protect them. The archivist recorded stories of old wars, none of which had ever reached his world. He believed, like everyone else, that the Empire would never turn on its own. Then the stars changed. Imperial war signals cut through the sky without warning. No explanation followed. No chance to prepare. The Empire had decided Keros was no longer useful. The first strike erased the orbital cities in seconds. Light burned across the horizon. The sky screamed as metal fell like rain. The ground shook with each distant impact. The archivist ran through collapsing halls, carrying nothing but memory crystals. He saw towers fall where children once played. He saw oceans boil under energy fire. He felt the weight of a lie pressing on his chest. The Empire did not conquer Keros. It erased it. Millions died without ever knowing why. Entire bloodlines ended in silence. The Empire called it order. The galaxy watched and did nothing. In the ruins, the archivist hid beneath broken stone. The air burned his lungs. The ground was warm with ash. Every belief he had ever held shattered in a single cycle. He understood then a cruel truth. The galaxy did not protect the weak. It consumed them. As the fires faded, Imperial drones scanned the surface. They searched for survivors, not to save them, but to erase records. History was dangerous. Memory was rebellion. The archivist survived by accident. A fallen structure blocked the scanners. He waited in darkness, listening to the machines pass overhead. Each second felt longer than a lifetime. When the drones finally left, Keros was gone. Not conquered. Not ruled. Simply deleted. Days later, the archivist reached a hidden relay station. Its systems were damaged but alive. He activated it with shaking hands, hoping to record the truth before the Empire returned. That was when he saw something strange. Beyond Imperial space, far from the core worlds, a faint signal pulsed through the void. It was weak, unstable, and ignored by every major power. The database labeled it as insignificant. A minor species, young and divided. No threat. No value. The name attached to the signal meant nothing to him. Humans. The archivist almost ignored it. The galaxy was full of forgotten species. None of them survived the Empire. But something about the signal was different. It did not ask for help. It did not beg. It simply repeated, steady and stubborn. A warning beacon. A message of survival. A declaration sent into darkness. The archivist stared at the stars, surrounded by the ashes of his world. For the first time since the destruction, he felt something other than fear. He felt curiosity. The Empire had erased Keros without effort. It believed the galaxy was silent. It believed nothing would ever challenge it. Far away, a small and broken species was still broadcasting into the void. Unnoticed. Unafraid. And the archivist realized the galaxy might have made a mistake. The archivist left the ashes of Keros behind. There was nothing left to save. Only truth. He traveled through broken routes and forgotten lanes, moving where the Empire no longer watched. His ship was old and damaged, powered by parts scavenged from ruins. Every jump through space felt like a gamble with death. Across the galaxy, the Empire continued as if nothing had happened. Worlds burned. Records vanished. Entire species disappeared without leaving scars on Imperial history. The archivist learned that his pain was not unique. Other civilizations had fallen the same way. Too small to resist. Too obedient to escape. Fear ruled the stars. In Imperial archives, humans were barely mentioned. A footnote at the edge of mapped space. A species still divided by borders and old wars. No unified fleet. No empire. No reason to matter. The archivist should have dismissed them. Every rule of the galaxy said humans would break under pressure. That they would kneel or vanish like the rest. But the signal continued. It was not loud. It was not powerful. It carried no threat. It carried memory. Old human probes drifted through space, damaged but active. Their systems recorded losses, failures, disasters. And yet they kept sending data forward. Not for help. Not for mercy. For survival. The archivist studied human history in fragments. Plagues. Wars. Planet-wide disasters. Near-extinction events. Humans suffered again and again. But something strange followed every collapse. They rebuilt. Not stronger in machines. But stronger in will. Where other species avoided pain, humans endured it. Where others surrendered to preserve life, humans risked everything to protect meaning. The Empire did not understand this. Its systems measured strength in numbers and weapons. Emotion was considered weakness. Loss was inefficiency. Humans treated loss differently. They remembered it. They carried it. They turned it into fuel. The archivist saw records of human ships refusing retreat orders. Human colonies rebuilt after total destruction. Human crews continuing missions even when survival odds reached zero. This behavior was marked as irrational. Dangerous. Unstable. The Empire ignored it. Then came the warning. Imperial expansion fleets changed course. Their destination was a small cluster of stars. Human territory. The Empire did not plan a war. It planned a correction. One fleet was enough. That was the Imperial calculation. The archivist felt a cold fear settle inside him. He had seen what one fleet could do. He had seen a world erased in hours. Humans did not know what was coming. Their signals showed no panic. No mass evacuation. Instead, something new appeared. A change in the signal pattern. Multiple human systems synchronized. Not unified by command, but by purpose. The archivist watched as one human vessel moved forward alone. It did not hide. It did not flee. Imperial records identified its commander as insignificant. No royal blood. No legendary victories. Just another human officer. The Empire logged the encounter as routine. Estimated resolution time, minimal. The archivist understood something the Empire could not. Humans did not measure survival the same way. They did not ask if they could win. They asked how long they could endure. As the Imperial fleet closed in, the lone human ship held its position. Silent. Waiting. And for the first time since Keros burned, the archivist felt true fear. Not for humanity, but for the galaxy that had never learned what desperation could become. The Imperial fleet arrived without drama. No speeches. No warnings. Only mass. Thousands of warships poured out of jump space like a moving wall. Their engines bent light. Their weapons were already charged. To the Empire, this was not a battle. It was cleanup. Human space looked small by comparison. Scattered colonies. Uneven defenses. Old stations patched together again and again. Imperial commanders recorded the scene with mild interest. The data predicted collapse within hours. Human resistance was listed as symbolic. The first strikes came fast. Orbital platforms vanished in bright flashes. Communication relays shattered. Entire human cities went dark in seconds. From afar, the archivist watched through stolen feeds. His claws shook as familiar images returned. Burning skies. Falling metal. A world learning it had no value. The Empire broadcast the destruction openly. Not as cruelty, but as instruction. This is what happens when you refuse order. Human ships rushed to defend their colonies. They were fewer. Weaker. Outmatched in every calculation. Imperial tacticians smiled at the data. Human vessels did not retreat when damaged. They stayed in formation even as shields failed. They absorbed fire that should have broken morale. This behavior was flagged as inefficient. One human colony was lost completely. Its surface cracked by sustained bombardment. Evacuation ships were destroyed before clearing orbit. Millions died in silence. The archivist felt the same hollow pain he had felt on Keros. Another people erased while the galaxy watched. But something was wrong. Human networks did not collapse. Even as systems burned, new routes formed. Damaged ships rerouted power mid-combat. Crews adapted without command delays. Imperial weapons struck with precision. Human responses were chaotic, but persistent. Where another species would have withdrawn to preserve survivors, humans kept pushing forward. Trading lives for seconds. Seconds for data. The Empire did not understand this exchange. Losses increased on both sides. Yet only one side seemed surprised. Human ships began targeting supply vessels instead of warships. They attacked fuel lines, command relays, repair platforms. The tactic was crude, but effective. Imperial formations slowed, not because of damage, but because coordination fractured. The Empire adjusted its strategy. It deployed heavier firepower. More ships. More force. The human response did not change. They did not surrender. They did not signal retreat. They did not ask for mercy. They endured. The archivist studied the battlefields deeper. Human medical bays stayed active even under fire. Injured crew returned to stations once stabilized. Some returned knowing they would not survive the next hit. This was not bravery as the galaxy defined it. It was something colder. A refusal to stop. Imperial commanders began to show frustration. Timelines extended. Resource use exceeded projections. This conflict was lasting longer than any correction in recorded history. Still, the Empire believed victory was certain. Attrition favored size. Time favored power. Then the human fleet changed shape. Ships pulled back suddenly. Not in retreat, but in alignment. At the center moved one vessel. Scarred. Damaged. Still advancing. Imperial records finally updated its classification. Command ship. Human captain aboard. The archivist felt a sharp tension tighten his chest. He recognized the pattern. The moment before everything breaks. The Empire focused its weapons, preparing to erase the symbol of resistance. The human ship did not turn away. It moved forward alone, into the shadow of 1,000 guns. And the galaxy held its breath. The Empire expected the human ship to break. It had seen this moment 1,000 times. A single vessel facing impossible fire. The end always looked the same. But the human ship did not slow. Imperial weapons fired together. Energy waves crossed space in perfect lines. Enough power to crack a planet. The human ship was hit. Its shields failed instantly. Armor peeled away. Fires spread through open sections. Sensors marked it as dying. Still, it moved forward. The archivist watched in disbelief. By every known law, the ship should have turned. Any other species would have fled. Survival doctrine demanded retreat. Humans ignored doctrine. Damage reports streamed from the vessel. Life support failing in multiple zones. Crew losses rising fast. Structural collapse imminent. Yet the ship adjusted its course. Not away from danger. Toward it. Imperial commanders hesitated for the first time. This behavior did not fit any model. Fear should have ended this. Instead, the human ship used the chaos. As Imperial weapons focused on the lone vessel, human forces moved elsewhere. Small ships slipped through broken formations. They struck exposed supply nodes. Communication arrays. Navigation cores. The Empire had built its power on order. Perfect timing. Perfect control. Humans broke that order. Every human loss seemed to sharpen their response. Destroyed ships became data points. Fallen crews became motivation. Pain did not slow them. It pushed them forward. The archivist felt a chill that had nothing to do with space. He had seen courage before. He had seen desperation. This was something else. The human ship at the center transmitted no surrender signal. No plea. No explanation. It transmitted coordination. Damaged human units adjusted instantly. No delay. No confusion. As if the suffering itself was guiding them. Imperial systems began to lag. Not from damage alone, but from overload. The Empire had never fought an enemy that welcomed attrition. Its algorithms assumed fear, assumed self-preservation. Humans removed that variable. The lone ship finally slowed. Its engines flickered. Internal fires raged uncontrolled. Imperial commanders prepared the final strike, certain this symbol would soon vanish. Then the human ship released its payload. Not a weapon. Not a bomb. Data. Battle recordings. Damage logs. Imperial weaknesses mapped in real time. The transmission spread across human networks. Every ship received it. Every crew learned from the suffering of those already lost. The archivist understood the horror of it. Humans were turning their own destruction into instruction. The lone ship drifted now. Power nearly gone. Hull breached. Still, it remained between the Empire and the human worlds. Imperial gunners hesitated again. Something unfamiliar crept into their calculations. Doubt. How much force was enough against an enemy that refused to stop? How long could an empire endure a war where victory demanded endless killing? The galaxy watched as the impossible dragged on. Minutes became hours. Hours became cycles. The laughter that once filled alien councils faded, replaced by quiet observation. The archivist felt it then. A shift. The Empire had not lost the battle. Not yet. But it had lost certainty. And far from the burning human front, deep within Imperial space, warning systems began to activate. Supply shortages. Delayed responses. Unexplained failures. Small cracks. Spreading. The human ship finally went silent. Its signal cut without confirmation of destruction. No wreckage drifted. No final marker appeared. Only absence. The archivist stared at the empty space where it had stood. Heart heavy. Mind racing. If one human ship could force the Empire to hesitate, if one captain could reshape a battlefield through suffering alone, then the war had already crossed a line. And the galaxy was no longer laughing. The silence left by the missing human ship did not end the battle. It changed it. Imperial fleets advanced again, but slower now. Formations tightened. Orders repeated twice. Certainty replaced by caution. The Empire still had numbers. Still had power. Still had 1,000,000 fleets across the galaxy. But for the first time, it faced an enemy it could not predict. Human forces regrouped behind shattered lines. What remained was damaged. Burned. Bleeding. Yet they did not withdraw. Human commanders studied the data left behind. Every failure mapped. Every death measured. Not to mourn, but to improve. Pain became instruction. The archivist watched with growing unease. He had seen species collapse under far less. He had seen hope die quickly in the face of empire. Humans treated hope differently. Imperial reinforcements arrived in waves. More ships. More fire. More certainty that numbers would end this. Human losses rose fast. Entire squadrons vanished. Stations fell. Colonies went dark. Still, human signals did not fade. Instead, they condensed. Focused. Pulled toward a single command vector. Imperial intelligence identified it at last. A command node not tied to rank or hierarchy, but to one captain. Not a ruler. Not a hero of legend. Just a human who refused to stop moving forward. The Empire marked the captain as priority. Eliminate the center. End the resistance. Traps were laid. Ambush points formed. Entire fleets positioned to close space itself. The human captain advanced anyway. The archivist felt a familiar dread. He had seen this pattern before on Keros. A lone figure standing against certainty. Moments before erasure. But humans did not act like other species. As Imperial fleets closed in, human ships did something unexpected. They scattered. Not in panic, but with purpose. Small units darted into gaps. Some never returned. Others returned damaged. But all returned with data. Imperial formations began to stretch. Covering too many angles. Protecting too many assets. The Empire was strong because it was unified. Humans attacked that unity. Supply convoys vanished. Repair docks burned. Command relays failed at critical moments. None of it was decisive alone. Together, it slowed the giant. The captain pushed deeper. Closer to Imperial core lines than any human had ever reached. Every step forward cost lives. Every retreat cost time. The archivist realized the truth with growing horror. This was not a battle meant to be won quickly. It was a wound meant to bleed. Imperial projections began to fracture. Victory timelines stretched beyond acceptable limits. Resource loss reached levels never recorded. The Empire could still destroy humanity. But it would not be clean. Not quiet. Not safe. The captain transmitted one final directive across human space. Not words. Not commands. Intent. Hold. Endure. Never yield. Human ships formed a last line around the captain's path. Damaged hulls locked together. Weapons fired until they melted. Crews stayed at stations long after survival odds vanished. The archivist felt his chest tighten. He understood now. The Empire feared loss. Humans accepted it. As Imperial fleets prepared a final overwhelming strike, something unexpected happened. Imperial borders flickered. Distant systems reported unrest. Suppressed worlds began to move. The myth of the untouchable Empire was cracking. All because one human captain refused to stop. As the battle reached its breaking point, alarms echoed across Imperial space. Not from the front, but from within. And the archivist realized the truth too late for the Empire. This war was no longer about humanity's survival. It was about whether the Empire could survive humanity. The end did not arrive with celebration. It arrived with exhaustion. Imperial fleets still filled the stars. Still outnumbered humanity beyond measure. Still possessed the power to burn worlds. But something vital was gone. Control. Across Imperial space, systems failed faster than they could be repaired. Supply chains collapsed under constant disruption. Fleets waited for orders that arrived too late or not at all. The Empire had been built to rule silently. To end wars quickly. To erase resistance before it spread. Humanity had turned resistance into a disease. The final engagement did not look like victory. There was no grand formation. No perfect strike. Only scattered human ships, damaged and burning, holding positions they should not have been able to hold. The captain's vessel emerged again from the chaos. Scarred almost beyond recognition. Barely functional. Still moving. Imperial sensors struggled to track it. Its path was erratic. Unpredictable. Like its species. The archivist watched the final data feeds with shaking focus. He expected the human ship to vanish at any moment. Expected the Empire to finally apply enough force. That moment never came. Instead, Imperial command stalled. Fleet leaders argued. Algorithms conflicted. Every option carried unacceptable loss. To destroy the captain meant committing resources the Empire could no longer spare. To ignore the captain meant allowing the bleeding to continue. The Empire had no answer for an enemy that did not fear dying. At last, Imperial forces pulled back. Not in retreat, but in withdrawal. A pause. Unthinkable. The war did not end officially. The Empire simply stopped advancing. The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. Human space was shattered. Worlds burned. Populations reduced. Entire regions lost forever. But humanity remained. The captain's ship finally powered down, drifting among wreckage. Its signal weak. Still present. The archivist felt something break inside him. Not grief. Not fear. Understanding. The Empire had lost worlds before. It had lost fleets. It had lost resources. It had never lost belief. Now that belief was gone. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations watched in quiet shock. They had seen humans suffer. They had seen humans bleed. And they had seen humans refuse to stop. No celebration followed. No declaration of dominance. Only warnings spread through the stars. Avoid human space. Do not corner them. Do not assume fear. The Empire rebuilt its fleets slowly, cautiously. Never again with the same confidence. Never again with the same certainty. The archivist recorded the final truth into surviving archives. A truth written in ash and wreckage. Power was not only in numbers. Strength was not only in weapons. There existed a species that turned pain into resolve. Loss into momentum. Desperation into strategy. Humans were no longer classified as insignificant. They were classified as dangerous. The captain's name spread quietly. Not as a hero. Not as a conqueror. But as a reminder. One human had forced 1,000,000 fleets to hesitate. One refusal had cracked an empire that believed itself eternal. The galaxy did not cheer humanity. It stepped carefully around them. Because it had learned a lesson written in suffering. When humans are pushed to the edge. When surrender is the only logical choice. They do not kneel. They endure. And in enduring, they change the universe forever.